In this episode, I invite you to think about this future-focused question. Rather than diluting efforts trying to be everything to everyone, what if we could prioritise council's efforts for just a handful of value-add industries that have the greatest potential to increase Yarra Range's gross regional product? To help you answer this question, let's recap what we know. The Yarra Ranges has a healthy $6.7 billion local economy. However, the 5-year growth projection for the Yarra Ranges of 3.4% compares unfavourably with Greater Melbourne, which is projected at 5.2%. So a substantial change to the way we do things is required if we are serious about catching up to and competing with Greater Melbourne. Number 2, what we also know is that these are the top 5 value-add industries currently based in the Yarra Ranges. Interestingly, a little further down the list are 2 other sectors that are potential growth opportunities for the Yarra Ranges. You can see in the grey bars that Greater Melbourne has a much higher proportion of professional, scientific and technical services and financial and insurance services. Now let's assume that many of these businesses are located in Melbourne City. Let's also assume that many of these businesses are now open to relocating away from the CBD due to COVID-19 and due to the trend towards remote working or working in satellite offices. This provides Yarra Ranges with a perfect window of opportunity to attract employers from these value-add industries to invest locally. Even attracting just a handful of these businesses, particularly the larger ones, would boost the local economy, providing flow-on effects or flow-on benefits to existing local businesses, as well as more employment opportunities for local residents. Number 3, another thing we know is that according to many of council's stakeholders we interviewed as part of this economic development strategy project, council's reputation is not great when it comes to removing barriers to economic growth and getting good projects approved. The problem, it seems, is twofold. Council has onerous decision-making processes compared with other councils that investors deal with. They see council as being indifferent to the commercial realities of the private sector and, as a result, have shifted their investment elsewhere. A related problem is in the way that council policies are being applied. Rather than taking a let's see how we can make this work attitude, the perception is that council has a reputation for using policies and procedures as blunt instruments for saying no. So, what does all of this mean? Well, here's the challenge in a nutshell. There's a lack of clarity about the degree to which council and the community is welcoming of new industry, commerce and trade. The consequence of not addressing this challenge is that by taking a business as usual approach, investment and employment opportunities will be lost to other regions. This could be detrimental to sustaining the provision of services and activities for local residents, no matter whether they're provided by the private sector or by council. So, returning to the question of what if we could prioritise council's efforts for a handful of value-add industries, here are a few ideas I have prepared to help visualise what this could look like. Number 1, prioritise a list of top 5 value-add industries. In other words, focus council's efforts on enabling these priority sectors to grow the local economy. So, which value-add industries would you pick? If we use the ABS industry categories to pick the top 5 largest contributors to gross regional product, perhaps you might consider excluding construction, as this tends to follow the growth of other industries. However, you may want to focus council's efforts on the remaining top 5 sectors and add these 2 industries into the list. Alternatively, if we move away from using the ABS industry categories, we could chunk our top 5 or 6 into 4 broad categories of priority sectors: agribusiness, food, wine and tourism, health and wellness, advanced manufacturing, and knowledge, innovation and entrepreneurship. The second idea is to streamline council processes to ensure that all decisions relating to these priority sectors are first looked at through an economic development strategy lens, rather than allowing catalytic projects for economic growth fall along the wayside. As an example, I recommend using a project prioritization matrix like this one whenever a decision is being made that impacts on any of these priority sectors. I've prepared for you a separate bonus video on how the matrix could work. But in a nutshell, this matrix allows for greater transparency and flexibility. It is one of the best outcomes-focused decision-making tools that I know of, and I have worked with many organisations, including councils, to tailor the matrix for their specific circumstances. So, the second idea was to streamline council processes. The third idea is to overhaul how council policies and procedures are being applied, using an economic lens to remove unnecessary barriers to initiatives for enabling economic growth for these priority sectors. Focus first on areas where council can easily make a difference. Then proceed to increasing council's circle of influence to tackle unnecessary institutional barriers imposed by other levels of government. So there you have some options relating to the question, what if we could prioritise council's efforts for a handful of value-add industries? I hope these have sparked a few reactions and ideas of your own. We really want to hear your thoughts as we finalise the economic development strategy. Write them in your reflection journal and send them to the economic development team. And you're welcome to write your comments in the section below.